Right, stop scrolling, because the used car market in 2026 is split into two categories, and most buyers don't know which side they're on until it's too late. Category 1, cars that age gracefully, getting cheaper to buy, staying reliable, costing almost nothing unexpected to run. Category 2, cars that hold together through the warranty period, then fall apart the moment you're on your own financially. The difference isn't price, it isn't brand reputation, it isn't what any review said when these cars were new, it's engineering philosophy. And today I'm telling you exactly which 5 cars belong in Category 1. Here's what makes this different from every other used car list. I'm not talking about cars that were reliable when new. Any car can survive 3 years and a warranty period. Manufacturers engineer them too. I'm talking about cars where the depreciation has already done its damage, the price is right, and real-world mileage data from hundreds of thousands of examples says these things simply don't break. That combination is rarer than the industry wants you to think, and it's worth serious money. Stay for this reason. Number 3 is the car that used car economists become slightly evangelical about, because the ownership data at 100,000 miles is so dramatically better than its rivals that once you see it, you can't unsee it. And number 1 does something no other car on this list does. It gets harder to find as it gets older. Not easier, harder, because owners understand what they have and refuse to let go. 5 cars, real mileage, real data. Subscribe right now and drop a comment with the used car you're currently considering. I'll tell you whether it belongs on the smart money list or the repair bill list. Every comment gets read. Number 5, Honda Jazz. The Honda Jazz is invisible in car park conversations. Nobody talks about it. Nobody posts about it online. It generates no excitement whatsoever. That invisibility is precisely what makes it extraordinary at high mileage. The 4th generation Jazz uses Honda's eHEV hybrid system in a series hybrid configuration. The petrol engine runs in its efficient, narrow rev range, while electric motors handle propulsion. Fewer stress points than conventional hybrids. Real-world fuel economy that consistently beats official figures rather than falling short. And a drivetrain that accumulates miles without the drama that turbocharged rivals produce. Here's the ownership reality at high mileage. Pre-purchase inspection data across Jazz models between 60,000 and 130,000 miles reveals a maintenance profile of brake components, filters, and tires. That's it. Not gearboxes, not turbos, not electrical modules failing in sequence, not suspension components giving up prematurely. While rival owners are arguing with garages over £2,000 gearbox bills, the Jazz owner is replacing tires and genuinely wondering what everyone else is complaining about. The interior tells the same aging story. Honda used materials that prioritize durability over showroom impression. At 7 or 8 years old, a Jazz interior feels like a car that's done 40,000 miles rather than 120. The surfaces don't degrade. The switchgear doesn't rattle. The seats don't collapse into shapes that suggest structural failure. Residual values reflect accumulated owner knowledge. Jazz models depreciate initially, then plateau, because people who've owned one or know someone who has understand what they're purchasing. At 80,000 miles and £7,000, it's one of the most rational used car purchases available in Britain right now. Comment below, does the Jazz surprise you as a recommendation, or did you see it coming? Number 4, Volkswagen Polo MPI. This one requires a specific qualification. Not all Polos age well. The version that does is important, and it's not the one most people buy. The Polo 1.0 MPI. Naturally aspirated, non-turbocharged. The 3-cylinder that gets dismissed in every comparison test for lacking performance. The one that looks underpowered against the TSI variants on every spec sheet. At 100,000 miles, it's one of the most reliable small cars in Britain, and it ages better than the turbocharged versions by a margin that's difficult to overstate. The mechanical argument is straightforward. No turbocharger, the component responsible for the majority of expensive failures in small turbocharged engines. No direct injection, which causes the carbon buildup issues that affect TSI variants and require expensive cleaning procedures. No dual-clutch gearbox, the component generating the most post-warranty complaints across the entire VW Group range. What it has instead is a well-understood engine the aftermarket knows completely, paired with either a conventional automatic or manual gearbox, in a body using VW's genuinely excellent structural engineering. Independent workshops handle every component without specialist equipment. Parts come from multiple suppliers at competitive prices. Maintenance at high mileage is predictable, cheap, and never surprising. The TSI variants are a completely different calculation. The turbocharged 1.0 TSI shares characteristics with the wider VW Group turbo petrol family that produces expensive failures at high mileage, carbon buildup, turbo wear, DPF complications on certain markets. The MPI avoids all of it through being, in engineering terms, the more conservative choice. And because the MPI is perceived as the unglamorous base engine, purchase prices sit lower than equivalent turbocharged Polos, despite the long-term reliability data pointing clearly in its favor. The boring Polo is the correct Polo. The data is unambiguous on this. Number 3. Toyota Corolla Estate. This is the car that used car economists become slightly evangelical about, and once you see the ownership data, you'll understand why. Toyota's hybrid system in the Corolla is the 4th generation of technology refined since 1997. That's not a marketing point. It's an engineering reality with a specific consequence. Every failure mode has been identified and addressed across 25 years of development. The hybrid battery degrades slower than almost any competitor. The electric motor components are engineered to lifespans that exceed normal ownership periods. The petrol engine, running in its efficient range rather than being stressed across the rev band, accumulates less internal wear per mile than conventional alternatives. The result at 100,000 miles is a car that's mechanically closer to new than almost anything else in its segment. MOT data across high-mileage Corollas shows failure rates dramatically below class average. Not slightly below, but in a different category entirely, in the areas that generate expensive repair bills. The estate body adds something the hatchback misses: genuine practicality without the premium, 600 litres of boot space, comfortable for families doing real journeys, capable of carrying things people actually need to carry, without the SUV insurance premium, without the SUV fuel consumption, without the suspension components that premium SUVs use, and that fail expensively at high mileage while the Corolla keeps going. The number that matters for used buyers is cost per mile. When you divide everything, purchase price, depreciation from that price, fuel, insurance, maintenance, repairs, across actual miles covered, the Corolla estate at high mileage consistently produces one of the lowest figures of any used car in Britain. It won't win any Car of the Year award. It won't generate any envy. It will get you to 200,000 miles for less money than almost anything else. And that's a statement the data supports completely. Stop here, because the next two cars break the normal rules of depreciation. Most used cars get cheaper as they age because people stop trusting them. The reliability data disappoints. The repair bills accumulate, buyers learn to avoid them, and prices fall accordingly. These next two hold value because owners know exactly what they have, and they don't want to let go. That's a completely different aging story. And it's worth understanding before you buy anything else, like this video right now if you're finding this useful. Number 2. Suzuki Jimny. The Jimny does something almost unique in the used car market. It depreciates normally from new, finds a flaw faster than most cars, and then holds that flaw for years. Sometimes it appreciates. 3- and 4-year-old examples regularly sell at prices close to or exceeding their original purchase price, on a car that costs 19 to 21 grand new. This happens because the Jimny is genuinely, mechanically unique in a way nothing at its price point replicates. Body-on-frame construction, 3-link rigid axle suspension, mechanical 4-wheel drive with low range. These aren't specifications for a brochure. They're engineering decisions that make the Jimny capable of terrain that crossovers and soft-roaders marketed as off-road vehicles simply cannot manage. Every rival that appeared more practical, better equipped, and better reviewed in comparison tests has depreciated toward irrelevance. The Jimny hasn't, because nothing has replaced what it does. That capability doesn't age. The Jimny bought today is equally capable in 15 years. Meanwhile, the mechanical profile supports long-term ownership. The 1.5-litre naturally aspirated petrol is simple, well understood, and long-lived. The 4-wheel drive system is mechanical rather than electronic. No modules to fail, no software to corrupt, no sensors requiring replacement. Body-on-frame construction means structural integrity doesn't depend on monocoque resistance to British road salt over a decade of winters. Independent workshops service every component without hesitation. Parts are available, competitively priced, and well documented across the entire aftermarket. The depreciation flaw is the ownership argument. The mechanical simplicity is the reliability argument. Together they make the Jimny the most unusual aging story in Britain's used car market. A car that gets harder to argue against the longer it exists. Number 1. Toyota Land Cruiser Right. Before you say it, yes, this is not a cheap car. But cheap to buy and cheap to own are not the same thing, and confusing them is one of the most expensive mistakes in the used car market. A 2022 Land Cruiser bought at around 70 grand can still be worth 62 to 68 grand today. 2 years, 20 or 30,000 miles, and it has barely moved compared with premium German SUVs that can lose a third of their value in the same period. That is not hype. That is the market reacting to decades of Land Cruiser ownership data. Buyers know these vehicles last. Owners know what they have. And that is why good examples do not get cheaper in the normal way. The engineering explains it. The 3.3-litre twin-turbo diesel was not designed for school runs and motorway commutes. It was built for mining fleets, military contracts, and remote places where the nearest dealer can be hundreds of miles away. UK road use is easy work compared with what this car was created to survive. At high mileage, the Land Cruiser still feels different. The engine, drivetrain, chassis, and body are built to take abuse that would age most SUVs brutally. While other luxury SUVs become financial risks after the warranty, the Land Cruiser keeps its value because people trust it. And this is where the maths gets interesting. Buy a German SUV for 45 grand, lose 15 grand in depreciation, then add higher servicing and repair costs. Buy a Land Cruiser for much more, lose far less, and the expensive car can actually become cheaper to own. That is why it takes number 1. The Land Cruiser does not age like a normal used car. Demand stays strong because owners refuse to sell, and buyers are learning why. The cheapest car is not always the one with the lowest price. It is the one that does not punish you after you buy it.